In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Cosmere Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Mike. Joining me this week are Dave
Prove it.
and Tori.
Hello, Internet.
And unfortunately, Craig has a sick baby to take care of, so he wasn't able to join us today. We start every week with good thing. So, Dave, good one thing.
I didn't know you were going to ask me that. La Mulana 2 DLC came out. I thought it came out before when I talked about it, but apparently it just came out this weekend. I haven't played it yet, but I already have people badgering me to stream it, so it must be good.
Okay, La Mulana 2 DLC.
Yep.
I know nothing about it. Tori, do you have strong opinions on La Mulana 2 DLC?
No, because I also don't know anything about it except what you guys have told me while talking about your good things.
I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I thought it was a masterpiece. So I can only assume the DLC is adequate. I haven't tried it yet. But I'm excited to try it.
You didn't get the full experience that you claim is so integral to La Mulana 1.
Having chat spoil the answer to riddles for me?
Yeah.
It seems less a part of the experience of La Mulana 2 as it was for La Mulana 1. Honestly, I think that Nagoro, the developer of La Mulana 1, hires people to watch Twitch streams and give unsolicited advice. Like, I think it's part of the meta game that they have going on, like the meta troll.
All right. So my good thing this week is I would like to tell you guys a story about how I got my copy of Oathbringer, and I wish Craig was here because I'm going to say really nice things about him, but he's not here, so he's never going to hear this.
Why do you hate Craig? Why do you never say anything nice to Craig?
He's not here when I have nice things to say to him. So anyway, when Oathbringer came out, I had just started being like a semi-regular in Craig's Zelda streams. We started talking about, Brandon Sanderson and the Cosmere and all of that, and I was like, well, money's a little tight, so I can't afford to buy a book right now. I'll just have to wait for a little bit. No big deal. Money was tight because my wife and I had just gotten married, and weddings are like, we did a cheap wedding, but it was still on the expensive end. Anywho, I was totally prepared to just, wait a few months and eventually be able to get this book and then just get caught up then. And Craig's like, what's your address? And then like a week later, I get a book in the mail.
Oh.
So he functionally gave me the book as a wedding present, is what I consider it. So thanks, Craig. I appreciate that.
So your nice thing that you say to Craig is he got you something once. But no, it was a nice gesture. I didn't actually know that. That's really sweet.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't want me to have to wait a few months before I could afford to buy the book myself.
Yeah, he is an avid Cosmere naut. What's the fandom name? Is it Cos? That's the fandom. That's not something we made up.
I mean,
I don't know, but I like it a lot, so it's official now.
I use it on the Patreon.
Well,
I don't know if it's an official terminology.
Wait, we have a Patreon?
Terminology. Yeah, we have a Patreon, Dave. Did you know that if you go to patreon.com/CosmereCast, spelled CosmereCast, you can give us money or join our Discord without giving us money or when giving us money. You can do both. And you should join our Discord because a lot of stuff happens there that doesn't end up in the podcast. And yeah, it's the complete experience.
Yeah, and if you join our podcast, you see the little dancing Sylphrena on my webcam if you're watching the live stream. That's an emote in our Discord server. An emoji, I think they call it. Or is it?
It's
or
definitely
is
one of those.
it? Is that in our Discord server, or is it in my Discord server?
I don't know that I ever got it to work. It may just
Oh,
be
I think
yours.
because you don't. Maybe because you don't have Nitro, you couldn't add it, animate. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Something like that. But anywho, there's a dancing Zilfrena thing sometimes. Yeah. So Tori, presumably you'd have a good thing now.
Yeah, presumably I do. Do you want to guess what it is?
Is it the thing we were talking about just minutes before we started recording?
Yeah, it's that thing.
All right, Dave, break the barrier here. Tell
Hey
us what it is.
Tori, sorry I was late for the recording today and missed this awesome thing that you were talking about, but I hope I get to hear about it soon.
I started playing this game. It's called Stardew Valley. You probably haven't heard of it, but it's super
Is it one of
cute.
those really obscure indie games that only like super gamer hipsters have heard about?
Probably. Um, So it's a farming sim where you inherit a little farm in an adorable little community and you get to befriend all the people who live there and you plant your crops and you get to build your house and well the house is already built but you get to upgrade the house and you get to build barns and get animals and it's super cute. Like all of the little character sprites remind me of Chrono Trigger or something bad
Oh yeah.
and they're adorable and I love it and it's relaxing and yeah, highly recommend.
Cool.
Can I give you a small piece of advice, Tori?
Sure.
Cheese.
Cheese?
Almost everybody in town likes cheese as a gift, and it's a really good mine food for like recovering health and energy.
Wait, you can
And,
mine
Oh,
cheese? Do you live on
and
the
you can
moon?
get tons of it really, really easily. Cheese.
okay. Cheese.
Louise.
Cheese.
Isn't that like a Mel
So
Brooks joke? Where he's like, you know how they invented the name for cheese? That sounds like Mel Brooks. You know, they aged all these curds in a barrel and they opened it up and they smelled it and they went, oh, cheese.
Craig
Sounds
is
like
kind of the Mel Brooks
his wife.
expert.
His wife is a huge Mel Brooks expert.
So before we get into what we're doing today, I wanted to ask you a question, Dave.
Uh-oh.
After finishing all the stuff that we just finished, um, which universe would you prefer to go back to? Would you have preferred to get the next Mistborn book, or would you have preferred to do what we're doing and go back to Stormlight?
I think Stormlight.
Okay, so you're ready for a Stormlight. You're in a Stormlight mood.
Yeah, absolutely, I'd say. It's
Excellent.
kind of like, I know that there's some stuff hanging in the air after Bands of Mourning, but it's just like, you know, I need to check in on all my old friends, Sylphrena, Nightblood. This book probably has other characters that I'll remember as I go. But I mean, those are the two most important characters in my heart.
Sylphrena and Nightblood, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, with that out of the way, let's get into it.
All right.
Dave.
So, yeah, we are starting a new book, Oathbringer. And this is the most recent Cosmere book that was written when we started recording the podcast. And we're not counting White Sand or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, the important thing is that after this book is finished, I get to go back and listen to the Cosmere Deep Dive podcast with spoiler section. And with the permission of the other podcast members, I might actually do a thing on stream where I listen and you can get my live reaction to episodes. Need to hammer out details on when I want to do that, but
you 100% have my permission for that.
Okay, well, you know,
as much as it's necessary since you're also in the podcast, so I I would assume that you have similar rights access. I don't know.
I don't know legally who owns the recordings, but I mean, I'm not even in the first 5 episodes, but yeah. So after we finish Oathbringer in 6 years, you guys can look forward to that on my Twitch stream. And yeah, Oathbringer, Tilfrena. Okay, so read the back cover first, like I normally do, and it mentions a handful of characters. We have the Captain, who I guess is Captain Kaladin, the Spy, which is Shallan, the Stonewalker, the Traitor, and the King. And I think the King is Dalinar, though he's not a king yet. The Stonewalker... There are a few Radiants that haven't really been... There are multiple people that could maybe fit in as Radiants. Like, we've got Yasna, we have Renarin, right? He's a Radiant. We've got Lift, though I don't know how big a part she's going to play in this book. And also... You know, let's not discount the possibility of a Parshendi Radiant, right? Maybe that's the Traitor. Maybe the Traitor refers to a Parshendi. And, you know, we've got Eshonai, who, yeah, she's been doing stuff. Maybe it could even refer to R'lain. I would actually love to see more from R'lain in this book. That would be cool. Maybe he's number 3 after Nightblood. And then I guess maybe the Stonewalker is Yasna. I could also see Yasna being the quote traitor because she's the heretic of their foreign religion, which we'll see in the epigraphs as well. I assume based on the epigraph of chapter 4, but was it 3 or I think it was 4 because the flashback chapters don't have epigraphs. I don't think. Let's actually double check that.
Traditionally, I don't think they do.
Chapter 3, Momentum, no epigraph. Okay. Yeah. So, we're reading Oathbringer by Brandon Sandenberg. Oh, crap. We gotta start over. Hello, and welcome to the Cosmere Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Mike. Joining me this week is Mike. Wait, I can still recover. Brandon Sanderson. All right. Whew. We just saved ourselves hours worth of re-recording and editing. Well, for Mike. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the prologue, which is titled To Weep. And this prologue is from the perspective of our good friend Eshonai, the Parshendi waifu from what killed all of her people that didn't want to take on Stormform. Yay! And this is a flashback going back to, I think this is actually the night that Gavilar was assassinated, and it kind of happened on the fly, which is interesting. All right, let's go jump into some notes here. Eshonai chapter. This is some important meeting in Alethkar. Apparently before they discovered art form. Gavilar. Unite them. Danger. What's in the dark sphere? Stormform Spren? So, in order to prevent the Everstorm, they killed Gavilar, which started a war, which forced them to summon the Everstorm. Good job, guys. So, Eshonai, you know, she likes exploring, and that includes indoors and out, and she's going around in the palace in Alethkar capital. Help me out.
Alethkar, I think.
Alethkar's the country, isn't it?
Isn't that also? No, the city has a different name. Crap.
Kholinar is the city?
Yeah.
There we go.
Is it named after the Colin family? That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Kholinar, so anyway,
Eshonai
is wandering around the palace, and she's told she's allowed to check out any room that's not guarded. So she finds a room, doesn't have guards posted out of the door, and she goes in, and there seems to be some kind of important meeting and conversation happening with King Gavilar and some people. And she's like, "Oh, hey guys." And
Okay. Quick question. Do you know who those people are?
Nas and Chris.
So the description we get is 2 soldiers, 2 women, and an old man in robes. And I know who one of the soldiers is, and like nobody else there.
Sazed? Is one of the soldiers jerkface old man Ardent? Kadesh?
No,
Kadesh?
Amaram. He's mentioned by name
Amaram.
in that scene. He's mentioned by name.
Oh
That's how
man, I
he
hate
is.
that guy.
Meridus Amaram.
Maybe they just call him Meridus, and I didn't realize that was his first. I think I would have noticed if they mentioned Amaram.
They did just call him by his first name.
Okay,
But
that would be like, oh, it's old Trollo is here. I would have remembered that was Sadius, but okay.
But, yeah, I only know one Meridus.
Did Amaram? Did Amaram die or just get lambasted by Hoyd? I think he's alive, right? Amaram?
Yeah, he's alive.
Yeah, he's still around.
Oh man. Hate that guy. Book's got
Everybody hates that guy.
Guy's worse than Zane. I don't want to speak hastily. I'll have to think about it. But I do hate him. Okay, so there's some people. One of them is Amaram. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know who anyone else is, and I feel like I should.
Nas and Chris. The woman is Chris, and the old man in robes is Nas.
So I know Hamija's listening right now, but if someone else knows who's in there, please let me know in our spoiler section, because I would like to know, and I feel like I should. And yeah, I'm missing out.
Anyway, so some point. Oh yeah, and Eshonai is also commenting on the fact that, like, oh man, they make some really nice art and sculptures and paintings and things. Like, if only we had a form that would help us be more artistic. But like, don't they discover an art form later on?
Not so far. They had people painting, but it was bad.
Not at the point of this prologue, but by present day, don't they have art form, or are they just theorizing that there is an art form, or trying to research an art form?
There is one, and Eshonai had like some of her soldiers set up in war form trying to paint.
So they've got
There's a whole scene of that.
I'm trying to remember, because they have the 5, right? And the 5 are each representing one form. So they've got war form, work form, sex form, dull form. I can't remember the other one. War form.
There's war form, mate form, nimble form.
Oh, nimble form. Okay, that's the one I forgot. Work form and dull form. Yeah. Okay, so this Gavilar.
So we also had epigraphs that listed a whole bunch of other forms.
Oh yeah, from all the different verses. And, we've seen storm form as well. Alright, so Gavilar shoots out everybody else and has a one-on-one conversation with Eshonai. What's the danger? I don't remember. But anyway, this is where Gavilar reveals that he wants to summon the old gods of the Parshendi. And this freaks Eshonai the heck out. She's like, no, we abandoned those gods. Like, we don't want them back. And Gavilar's like, but we need the gods to return to make the world great again. And then Eshonai is like, yo, we gotta kill this guy. Remember that slave you bought? He's an assassin, right? Just have him kill that guy. And that's basically it for the prologue here. So it's kind of it's really interesting how, like, Eshonai's just, when they are first meeting the humans and understanding their culture and everything, she's just like, you guys can buy and sell people. Like, the idea of slavery is just so foreign to her. And then, you know, obviously their top slaves are the Parshmen, and they're just like, oh, you're buying and selling our people too. That's messed up, dude. And they're like, no. The Parshmen are like the best slaves. And Eshonai's like, you think that's supposed to make me feel better? Like, that's crazy. So yeah, they're just to like kind of test out this thing. They apparently go and buy Seth, which had to have been orchestrated by some force, man or god. Like, the Parshendi coming across Seth and buying him as a slave, as like their hey, let's test out what this slavery thing is like. I mean, come on. It may have even been Taravangian who like orchestrated this whole thing.
And it's not even really effective testing, because, you know, to really do some effective testing, you need to buy a slave. You need to buy 300 slaves. You need to buy -6 slaves. You need to sell a slave. You need to buy a soda at the slave market. You need to go use the restroom. You need to jump on a horse. You need to have a horse on top of you. That's proper testing.
What? So, yeah, I guess they don't have a very large sample size, having only bought one slave, and one with an oath stone at that, who is a windrunner and expert assassin and nameless. Like, okay. But
I bet Tori laughed at the horse on top of you thing, because she's played The Witcher.
Yes.
so yeah, Prologue is Eshonai is a flashback of Eshonai's perspective on the night Gavilar died. Which, you know, I would have thought that they would have put a little more deliberation into it, but she just went to the 5 and they're like, yeah, we should kill him. And then they immediately do it. Like,
okay,
but there you have it. Yeah.
Logistically, about this one day, how does Gavilar find time to actually go to the feast and get assassinated with all these freaking secret meetings he's in?
He only had 2. And one of them wasn't even secret. There weren't even guards posted.
Yeah, you don't post guards for a secret meeting.
Oh, right. That was the mistake Elend made, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Was it Ellen? No, it was Sazed. Sazed did that.
Right, to make sure that Elend and Vin survived.
Yeah. How does he have time to go to the feast and get assassinated? Well, he probably had to show up to rein in his brother who was drunk off his butt, going haywild.
Yeah, that's one more meeting he had on his agenda.
Was to talk to Dalinar and sober him up. I'm muted in Discord. All right. What's the logistic question? I don't know. Maybe he has a Fabrial that projects his image somewhere else so that his projection can get assassinated.
He's got a time turner.
A time turner. There you go. How do you think Hoyd gets around?
He has a corpse canoe, remember?
Well, that's how he gets around physically, through the cognitive realm. But how does Hoyd get around from multiple eras of Scadrial?
Yeah, we don't know the exact mechanics of that, but he does. Anyway, your thing.
No, we're done. We're done prologue, I think.
Yeah, so chapter 1.
All right, then. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. So part 1 is titled United, and we'll have viewpoint chapters from the usual suspects of Adolin, Dalinar, Shallan, and Kaladin. Although it was like 90% Dalinar and one very small scene of Adolin for this week, but part 1 we'll see from the rest of them. All right, chapter 1, Broken and Divided. These last 6 days felt like a year or more. Vision rubble. The enemy's champion has 9 shadows. The Unmade. Unite them. Sadius has been murdered? So I think the main point of chapter 1 is, hey, Dalinar has his bonded Stormfather. A little bit of a refresher. And then also, he has full control of the visions now. He finally decided to break down and get the paid subscription to Netflix, and he can watch whatever episode in whatever order he wants now. And he can even like zoom in on little details like the rubble and, you know, like honor the Almighty. He's made these visions, and, you know, he put in the city rubble as a little background detail, but he put him there so maybe we can learn a little bit from the Almighty's perspective by looking at these little details. And also, I guess the episode doesn't fade out at the point where it normally would, because Dalinar has more control of the visions, and he sees Odium and his 9 shadow champions, which are, I think they say that Stormfather says that there's Spren called the Unmade. And yeah. Oh wait, I meant to actually hone in on the prologue where Gavilar says unite them, but he's not referring to the High Princes or, you know, the Rosharan kingdoms. He's talking about uniting, I think he's talking about uniting the gods or something. Like, he means something completely different when he says unite them versus when Dalinar says it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's coming to different conclusions when given the same input.
Yeah, because remember, the vision doesn't say who we're uniting, so it's the dreamers are interpreting it.
Dalinar thought he was told to go be friends with Sadius again and to trust him. Like, obviously there's interpretation that can happen here.
Well, Sadius has been murdered, so, you know, hard to trust in a corpse, I think.
Oh no, you can totally trust in a corpse. They're not going to stab you in the back.
Unless they're a zombie. Then they'll probably bite your brains.
They're unlikely to stab you if they're a zombie.
Might eat your brains, but... yeah, that was chapter 1, you guys.
Moving on.
See, Dave's waiting for me to say something, and then he's going to start in on chapter 1.
No, I'm just making more work for you, for future Mike.
No, but I've got the truncate silence button that I didn't find for a year and a half.
Right.
That fixes that.
I think I have a way around that.
Top tier podcasting, everybody.
Is this comedy? It's my favorite thing that I've ever said on this podcast. Is this comedy? All right, chapter 2. 1 problem solved. Well, now we're up to 2 problem because we just finished chapter 1 problem. 1 problem solved. Beer shipment. Adolin murdered Sadius? Sadius? I don't remember. Next scene is Teft the old dude, and no one moved the body. That's a relief. Or maybe the body was on a relief. I don't remember. And final scene, a bunch of officers' names I don't know. Sabariel and Aladar will help build a new Alethkar. Yay! 1 problem solved. The Lopen is now the Twopen. Where's Craig? I don't know. I wrote this last night or yesterday. What am I talking about? All right, so this first scene is the one scene that is not a Dalinar perspective. This is Adolin. He's overseeing this beer shipment. He's like, guys, they're building the tavern in Sector 5. Didn't my aunt tell you anything? Oh, and then Adolin is like, oh, there's some commotion. I bet I know what that's about because I murdered Sadius. Tee. And that's it. We go back to Dalinar. And he's talking to... Oh, so he's, Sadius's soldiers and some of Dalinar's soldiers are having a little tussle McGuffle here. And they're like, oh, you murdered our High Prince. No, he didn't. Your High Prince probably tripped on his shoelaces and fell on his own knife in his eyeball. And then... So... They mentioned Teft by name, who I think Teft was the old dude, who was like the old veteran that was in Bridge 4.
Yep.
Okay. And, Dalinar shows up to defuse the situation and explain that, the body wasn't moved. You can see that this whole pool of blood has been coalescing for half a day and and then, he gets everybody to get along for the time being, and then sends them on their merry way. And then...
Dalinar has spent so much time in battlefields around corpses that he now is an honorary member of CSI Uruk.
Well, yeah, he's like, you can see here that the eyeball was punctured and caved in and gross. But it's not gross to Dalinar, because he's seen it all. And then he calls a bunch of people in. And I think it was Severial's mistress, Paloma, who was just like, well, that's one problem solved. And everyone's
very
like...
practical-minded.
Yeah, I love Paloma and Severial. I love both of them. They're great. And everyone's like, yeah, agreed. Sadius was a jerk. Don't you remember Dave's bullet points? And then Dalinar's like, he may have been a jerk, but we needed his mind to rebuild the world. But secretly, Dalinar's like, that's one problem solved. And then, they gotta rebuild the world. And a new Alethkar end world with Sebarial and Aladar. And alright, Aladar's a little bit of a wuss, if I recall, but Sebarial's a genius. I would not lament having to reconstruct society with Sebarial. He knows about society and economy and stuff. He's a guy I want on my team. Aladar seems a little weak at the knees. But, maybe he'll turn up. And also just another side note, the Lopen shows up and he has 2 arms. He regrew his arm with the Stormlight. We saw the nub at the end of book 2, and here we have the full arm.
Hooray!
And now he's the world's greatest repository of 2-armed Herdazian jokes. So, what do you think Dalinar was like as a younger man?
Man, it would be great if we had some flashback chapters that took place 34 years ago so we would know. But, what are the odds that's going to happen?
I don't know. Seems pretty low. Feel like this is going to be a Navani book.
Yeah. Chapter 3, Momentum, 34 years ago. Whittle Dalinar. Thrill Seeker. Why does Brandon hate horses so much? I swear, every Cosmere book, some poor horse gets bifurcated or punctuated or sliceonated or terminated. Something's got to happen to a horse in a Cosmere book. It's a rule now. I'm pretty sure this is just a running gag at this point. I How Stella got her nose broke. Dalinar fights a dude. Go capture some civilians, y'all. Arrowed. Job interview. Dalinar was done living for the day. Yeah. So that stuff Mike said is what this chapter's about. We have Whittle Dalinar, and we see him on the battlefield, basically just throwing himself into danger to try to activate the thrill, which is a trait that we've seen in the first 2 books. Still not sure whether or not this is a manifestation of investiture, but both Dalinar and Adolin have shown this quality. It's almost like barbarian rage, but they don't have full control over it. Like they can kind of throw themselves in a situation to activate it, but and not to be confused with Berserker Rage, where like Berserker Rage you just go and you hack at everything and murder every living thing in sight, including your friends. Thrill is more like Barbarian Rage, where you still have full control of your actions, but like you get the constitution and the strength buffs, you know. And a horse dies. And so I'm pretty sure that Dalinar's broken face was like a physical trait that we see in the first 2 books, and his broken nose. And, you know, we needed a little backstory on that, and here it is.
It gets brought up that his nose had been broken, like, very visibly had been broken at least once in the past, probably multiple times.
And this is one of those times.
And I'd like to point out that the soldier that kills the horse feels bad about it.
Yeah, that's true. But he feels bad about it for financial reasons.
Yeah, his point of feeling bad about it is that horses are really, really expensive. So it feels like he's like murdering a fortune rather than actually caring about, you know, horses.
Dalinar fights a dude, and I think kills him. Or no, he doesn't directly kill him, but he subdues him, and I think Dalinar's elites actually come and finish the job. So he's like, all right, go capture some civilians so we have some bargaining chips. And then his elite guy is like, the soldiers will want to loot, sir. And he's like, they can loot the better towns or something. But they're going, I don't know. But they might anyway. Who knows what's it. And whoosh, an arrow comes out of nowhere and pierces Dalinar in the shoulder. And he's like, where'd that arrow come from? And he chases up, I guess, because he's like up on a mountain. Chases this assassin, and he's so impressed by his marksmanship that he gives him a job. And his down payment for the job is to not murder and loot the town that they just captured. And, you know, Sadeas was really looking forward to the pillaging and the perks that come with it. But, you know, they'll live. And
the assassin first asks that, like, his High Lord's heir be spared, which is
the dude I just killed?
The guy that Dalinar had just killed.
Mm-hmm. So, and then Dalinar, you know, this is in Dalinar's youth. He lived for war. He lived for the plumage and the pillage and the everything. Yeah, this was his life. This is the only time he felt alive, was when he was in battle. And he's like, I guess I'll just go be bored for a month. And that's the end of chapter 3, basically.
Onward to chapter 4.
All right, then, chapter 4. Oaths. So here I have the first epigraph note, and it is, the epigraphs have been excerpts of, so far, the prologue of a book titled Oathbringer. So, you know, it's another one of them book within a book, and they have the same title situations. Like, I think The Well of Ascension was also a book within The Well of Ascension. And it is, the author says, I know a lot of women will read this, which, first of all, point out the Vorin culture, only the women read. I know a lot of women will read this and confirm their suspicions that I am a godless heretic. So, likely written from the perspective of Yasna, although after the events of Chapter 4, I could also see it possibly being Navani. But, yeah. The prologues are written by somebody who has been labeled a godless heretic. But Yasna's dead, so she can't write nothing. Alright. Chapter 4.
No, she came back, remember?
In the cognitive realm. Wait a second.
Hoyd went and picked her up.
Did he bring her back to the physical realm?
No, she came back to the physical realm on her own.
She did? I don't actually remember that. Okay, because I was thinking, like,
Call
wait
an Uber for her or something. I don't know.
I remember, all I remember was that she was disappointed to see Hoyt. She's like, I should have figured I'd run into you here. But I was just thinking, Kelsier actually physically died and went to the cognitive realm. And I didn't remember seeing Yasna outside of the cognitive realm in the ending of book 2.
Technically, you never saw her in the cognitive realm.
Well, not in the epilogue.
No, I mean anywhere in the book. She did not appear on page while in the cognitive realm.
Doesn't she go to Shadesmar with Shallan? Or does Shallan just talk about being in Shadesmar and Yasna?
Shallan just talks about it. Oh, wait, no. Technically, during the prologue of book 2. She's
right, okay. Which takes place during the prologue of book 3. And possibly the prologue of book 1. Well, alright. Book 1 had like a pre-prologue that was, the 10 honor blades abandoning town.
There was like a prelude and a prologue, or
prelude, prologue, flashback.
Right. Then now I'm remembering the prologue of book 1 was the same evening from the perspective of Dalinar, I believe, right? Or was it Seth?
No, from Seth.
From Seth. Okay, yeah. But he does run into Dalinar. Oh, that's right. The only part that Dalinar has to play is being the drunk bodyguard in the prologue, right? In book 1. Alright.
Yeah, and
maybe
Sadeas was the decoy.
So yeah, so far all 3 books have a prologue that takes place on the evening that Gavilar was assassinated. That's pretty interesting. I'm sorry, 3 of the 4 books that I've read prologues for. But I'm going to assume that Rhythm of War follows the pattern. And I wonder whose perspective we'll get in book 4. Maybe Gavilar himself? Maybe Brandon will save that for book 5. Wait, now I want to guess. It's probably not Dalinar, because Dalinar was just like drunk and passed out.
Do you want us to answer after you're done guessing, or just leave it a mystery?
I do want to know, but let me finish guessing. So it's probably not. I'm gonna say probably not Dalinar. We've had Seth, Yasna. Is it Sadeas? Would be my guess. That's my guess. Is Sadeas? It's not Sadeas. Okay. You can tell me if you want. It's your podcast, your rules.
It's Navani.
That makes sense. Okay. Probably should have guessed her. All right. So chapter 4, Godless Heretic. People watching the stream have been staring at this bullet point. Is nail polish the Vorin equivalent of lingerie? I mean, think about it. It's like
nail polish, rings, bracelets.
Yeah, it's
anything
like
you wear on your left hand, basically.
Yeah, it's like the things that you use to adorn and make up the part of you that only your most intimate partner would see, right? So it's basically lingerie.
Fingerless gloves they just leave so much to the imagination. But
fingerless gloves
show so much.
Yeah, they're like a form of revealing clothing. Many of which exist in real life, I'm sure, but know nothing about. All right, Navani winks, and Dalinar wants to fade out, but he remembers that in the Cosmere, heroes wait until marriage. How many of these Ardents are named after Patreon subscribers? A bunch of name drops here. Shard plate. Proposal. We'll go scene by scene here. There's 2 scenes. So this we have Dalinar and Navani in a room alone, and Navani takes the glove off. She's got the nail polish, and Dalinar says, "No, it's I want to make a formal oath and be bound to you before we commence." Similar to Raoden and Serene, similar to Elend and Vin, right? I'm trying to think, and I think the only kind of protagonist that arguably doesn't wait till marriage is Breeze, and he's not really like a hero. He's pretty much a scoundrel. So it's kind of funny that.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, I think Breeze is the only example we get going the other way.
Yeah. So I think that this is probably intentional by Brandon. In the perspective that he's writing from, being pretty conservative in these matters. It's just an observation, not saying anything about it one way or the other officially. Okay, so
Ciri and Susebron.
Oh yeah, they were married before they met.
Yeah.
but yeah, it counts. It applies. We got a bunch of name drops of Ardents here, and I'm just I'm not gonna write these names down because I don't think they're gonna be important. But I'm curious what the source of the names were, and I know you said that Brandon likes to throw out cameo names of fans or people that he knows, and I was just wondering if there's any meta information.
Definitely did for Wheel of Time. I know there was basically you could get your name put on a list and you'd be a named Wheel of Time character.
Okay, but you're not sure about here. This seems like a Craig question. Anyways,
maybe, I don't know.
So we got some dead wife talk. Remember, Dalinar doesn't have any memories connected to his deceased wife, and Navani brings up really the most information ever that we get about her, and that is that Dalinar married her for political reasons and to obtain a shard plate. But also Dalinar recalls that when his wife died, he kind of went on a murderous killing spree rampage where he annihilates everybody. So he must have loved her, or I guess. But he confesses to Navani that he doesn't have any remembrance of events or details of his dead wife, and that there is a connection between his lack of memory of and the old magic, which, I don't know how the old magic connects to bonding a Spren. If it's similar, the exact same thing, completely different. I have no idea. I don't think I should know yet. Maybe that's something that will go in, given the more details of the old magic, maybe that'll be a main theme in Oathbringer. But if you remember, when they mentioned the old magic in previous books, it comes with a blessing and a curse, and apparently Dalinar's curse, which they also make it seem like it's unique that Dalinar is actually aware of the curse. I mean, the guy that saw everything upside down, I think that one was pretty obvious. But Dalinar is aware that the old magic curse resulted in him not having memories of his wife. And then he sort of officially proposes marriage to Navani here, and says that if he can get the Stormfather to oversee and officiate the wedding, then he'll consider that good enough to fade out. And that's the end of the first half of chapter 4. And then in the latter half of chapter 4, we have the actual wedding. Navani was prepared for this eventuality. Riders on the storm. This was a weird wedding, but I do be like that sometimes. Dalinar should avoid reminding K-Dash of the man he once was, Brandon. Thanks for the flashback chapter. Which, you know, as actually, I didn't bring this up. As I'm reading chapter 3, I'm thinking like, man, Dalinar's quite awful in his youth. It's not really ambiguous. He's just a pretty terrible warmonger. I guess like he spares this one town in order to convince this really good assassin to join his squad. Like, but there aren't very many redeeming qualities for Dalinar in the chapter 3 flashback. And then finally, after he meets with K-Dash, Dalinar needs to be with his wife. Wink. Possible fade out. We don't... Probable. Yeah, they gotta go to dinner first. Yeah, Navani had a wedding dress. That's cute. They get married. Stormfather shows up, and everybody witnesses him. He's like... Stormfather's like... I'm the Stormfather. I am Oaths. And they're like, yeah, we want to get married. And Stormfather's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And that's the wedding.
Dalinar asks Elhokar for his blessing before, like, moments before they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Elhokar's just like, ugh, fine. I guess if you have to marry my mom.
Well, he wants to make his mom happy. So he allows, you know, he's okay with that part of it. And Adolin's just like, yeah! But he doesn't tell anybody that he murdered Sadeas. Not yet. So yeah, Dalinar and Navani are officially married, but K-Dash, who's like this old dude Arden, and an old friend of Dalinar, who used to go to... Was K-Dash in chapter 3? I don't remember. He wasn't like the guy. Like there was the one main elite guy that he had like a Tashik name, right? Didn't he? I didn't write his name down from chapter 3.
Looking at the Coppermind, Kadash is not mentioned in chapter 3.
Okay. But chapter 3, like there is the one guy. I don't remember. See if I can find it quickly. Thakka. Which I'm pronouncing it Thakka because it seems like an Azish name. Is Azish? Is it Azish? I don't remember. Anyway.
I think you mean Thalen. They have the...
No, Thalen has a bunch of consonants pushed together. Who is the guy that was so like... Who was like the older guy? Alright, who is Lift's friend that became the Emperor?
The Grand Akasix?
Yeah, but...
Yonagon.
No, it was Gox, right?
Yeah, Gox, but his name is Yonagon.
But there was... Maybe it was... No, there was somebody who had like a double k sound in their name in Lift's interlude chapter of book 2. And I thought they were Azish, but maybe they were Thalen. But yeah, Thalen do have a bunch of consonants mushed together. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know who this guy is. We'll probably learn more about him as we get more flashback chapters. But yeah, they married. End of chapter 3. Time to go eat and escape the feast as soon as it's socially acceptable so that they can wink fade out. Any questions about this week's chapters?
Navani has needs, all right?
That's not a question.
She has not winked and faded out in
10 years?
sometime before Gavilar died.
Possibly longer than that.
Do I have questions? I don't have questions. I would, when this eventually gets translated to TV or movie or something, I would like the Stormfather to be wackier about the wedding.
I mean, all this Spren are anime, right? So wouldn't he just be like a giant anime?
I mean, he's a face that is the sky, or a sky that is a face. I'm not sure which way that goes, but nah, I feel like he could be wackier in this. Like he's very, very solemn in this, and I feel like wackier would play well.
Yeah.
Just for that one scene. Like go back to being completely solemn later. This scene, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Ardentia is not going to be happy about the wedding. That's kind of a big point as well. And they're like, and even Kate Ash is just kind of like, you marrying Navani, I can make up excuses for you for that, but like actually having a Spren officiate the wedding is not something that I'm comfortable with, and not something that the Vorin religious elites are gonna look happily upon.
It felt to me like Kadash was just looking for things to complain about, honestly.
Could be.
Like, we won't marry you, and we don't like it that a Spren is marrying you. It sounded like his issue was that they're getting married at all. And like no matter how they did it, he wouldn't have been happy.
Could be.
But I don't have anything for you, I don't think.
I think this Everstorm is run dry.
Yeah. Oh, hey, yeah, we didn't really talk about the Everstorm.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the Everstorm.
It's black clouds with red lightning, and I think that he sees a bunch of red eyes. That Dalinar sees a bunch of red eyes glowing in the storm.
So Dalinar Navani, previous to the Everstorm hitting again, had sent messages to like the rulers of the entire world.
Right, and even Kaladin personally went to warn Hearthstone, right?
Yeah. But yeah, like new storm blows the wrong way. It's gonna keep happening, and then they got ignored. And here it is. Everstorm round 2 just hit Urithiru.
Yeah, they see it. Well, they see it passing underneath the tower, right? But it seems less violent than when it first clashed with the high storm, I guess.
Yeah, when the two meet, that's gonna be something special. But just the Everstorm by itself is already really bad.
It's like that movie, The Perfect Storm, and the storm after which it was named.
Because it's blowing the wrong way is a big problem, but also it's actively being piloted by the evil storm machine, not the good storm machine. We have a good storm machine and an evil storm machine now. But that's really about all I've got. Tori, you got anything?
Mm-mm.
Do you have anything for spoiler time, or should we just skip this week and wait for Craig to come back?
The only thing I would say, and it's not really a spoiler, so Dave can hear it, is doing the prologue, but knowing all the stuff from future books is that's a treat. So someday, Dave,
Yeah.
you're gonna get there. You should go back and read all the prologues again. But yeah, that's my only comment.
Having the next book under my belt now, this prologue hit different. But I feel like that's a conversation best had with Craig here.
For sure.
So yeah, looks like we don't need a spoiler time. So I don't know where I'm going with this, except bye everybody.
Good night, Internet.
Goodbye, Internet.
All right.
All right,
That's
time to
an
cut the
episode.
stream. I guess you don't need to add the marker.
No,